I am so excited to have Brenna Greene from Creme 2 in Spokane with me today. Brenna, thank you so much for repeatedly always saying yes when I ask you to come on and do stuff with the podcast and with the radio show. I seriously appreciate it so much.
No problem at all. There isn't a lack of news right now to talk about, that's for sure.
I know I was reading like right up until about 6:55, like, okay, am I going to miss anything? Are the Blazers going to sign somebody else? Is another basketball game or football game going to get canceled? Like what's going to go down? I know that that's pretty much been your life for the last month and really a little bit longer than that too.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of all of March, and then we kind of had a lull, and then all of August was like that, and then we picked right back up in November, baby. So there you go.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to ask first is just what it's been like. You know, I know we talked a couple of times about just the experience of obviously having, you were at the Pac-12 tournament in March when things got shut down, and then having such like a long lull and having to find other things to cover, and then obviously have it all come roaring back in the last month or so. Just kind of what has that experience been like for you in the role that you have?
It's definitely different. It's forced us in some situations to kind of think outside of the box to fill and to have interesting stories to tell. But I kind of like thinking outside of the box and doing different things. So honestly, it was kind of was a welcome change in a way. The thing that's difficult right now with all these games is that everything is 5 seconds away from getting canceled. So you really can't plan for much. You just have to hope it all works out. There's definitely way more breaking news than what I am used to.
Yeah.
And like today, like I was supposed to work ahead on a piece today. I haven't touched that piece. Haven't touched it because of all of the college basketball news that happened today. So it's definitely something where you kind of have to keep your head on a swivel at all times. So yeah.
I mean, last week we had breaking news during my radio show, so we'll see if we go 2 for 3 on that happening. But that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the breaking news that happened last week was the Robert Covington trade for the Portland Trail Blazers, and obviously them losing that first round pick, but they did use their second round pick, and they acquired with the 46th pick CJ Elleby, a combo kind of guard forward from Washington State, first player from Washington State to get drafted since Klay Thompson. So I think Blazers fans can safely assume that they have the next Klay Thompson. Is that
yeah, that's totally it. That's totally it.
Obviously, right?
He is the third fastest player in WSU history to get to 1,000 points. Okay. So he is able to score at will, per se. He came close to beating some sort of Klay Thompson record. Maybe it was his sophomore year scoring record. I'm not entirely sure. But I would safely assume, definitely we're looking at the Blazers roster, I could see him ending up becoming a two-way player this year, especially since, he wasn't somebody that everybody had on their draft boards.
Right.
It was kind of shocking that he got picked that high. I mean, it definitely shocked me. I wasn't ready for that. I was like, whoa, okay. Thankfully, we prepped web stories before, so it was very easy to just insert X, Y, and Z, and so we got it up quick online. But yeah, I would imagine he'll probably spend a little bit of time in the G League this year, if there is a G League this year.
Yeah, it's funny. I was surprised to see CJ Elleby get drafted too, obviously, and I was surprised to see Portland go after him. But I had been doing some prep on like second round pick for the Blazers, and when you look at their track record with general manager Neil Olshey, they've so heavily prioritized experienced college guards from high major programs who were like a huge integral part of the team. You look at like Alan Crabb was like everything at Cal when he was there. Pat Connaughton was so huge at Notre Dame. He was kind of almost their whole team in that spot as well. And then Gary Trent Jr. kind of breaks that mold a little bit, but Will Barton was similar to that as well. They definitely have a type with what they go after in the second round. And I had been paying attention to CJ Elleby, like I knew who he was. And I saw the Blazers picked him. My first thought was kind of shocked, and then I was like, this actually tracks a lot with what they've done in the past. So it kind of, and of course the Blazers like to go, they pick a lot of guys that kind of make you turn your head a little bit too, and that's kind of what we had here. So I know you had a chance to speak with Elleby about his getting drafted by the Blazers, and I know he said he's really excited to be coming to Portland. Can you just talk a little bit about what you heard from him and maybe what Blazers fans can be excited about with him?
He definitely is thrilled to stay in the Pacific Northwest. I think that he's really excited about that. He reiterated it time and time again. He talks a lot about Brandon Roy and how he has always followed Brandon Roy and was really into watching him on the Blazers, which same. The first thing he said in the press conference was that if he could pick a team to go to, it would have been the Blazers. Mm-hmm. So definitely something where he's definitely getting to live out a bit of a dream here, which is very, very cool for him. So yeah, I think that he takes it very seriously that he's the first player since Klay to get drafted from WSU, and he knows that he has some pressure on that a little bit just because of the fact that WSU isn't known for cranking out NBA talent, and he can do it. If you can have him and Klay in the league doing it at the same time, you might be able to get a few more guys to relocate to Pullman, which is not the easiest of tasks for a lot of recruits.
How did the Washington State fans take it when he talked about how much he loved Brandon Roy and his University of Washington roots?
I'm sure it's okay. You know what? And I feel this as somebody who, grew up a huge Oregon fan and then went to Gonzaga. Like, if there's anybody, I'm like, I don't care that you went to UW, because to be fair, I was born and bred to not like the Huskies. Right. It's Brandon Roy. It's like, I don't even think about the fact that he played for UW. He's like easily the person that I have the most grace for in terms of that. So, I'm not saying that I totally hate the Huskies now or anything like that, but growing up, it was definitely something where it was like, you will not like the Huskies. Yeah. That was very much ingrained into me. So, but it never felt like that growing up with Brandon Roy, and I think he's kind of somebody that transcends that label a little bit.
Brandon Roy is bringing Oregon and Washington fans together. Look at that.
Yes.
Moving on from CJ Elleby, I want to talk about another who we were hoping would be a second-round pick alongside Elleby. If you'd asked which of these two guys would get drafted, I think the vast majority of people would have gotten it wrong. Because Killian Tillie did not end up getting selected. Gonzaga great big man from France who had an excellent 4-year career for the Zags, but unfortunately dealt with a lot of injuries during his career, which almost certainly played a part in him not getting selected, because I think if you ask me and anybody else who watched him, the skill set that he has translates really well into today's NBA. But he obviously got a chance to sign with the Memphis Grizzlies. He's going to be reunited with Brandon Clark, his teammate for a couple of years at Gonzaga. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to talk to him since then, or just have a sense of this fit for Tillie and kind of what he was going through before the draft, but just kind of what thoughts you have on him now that he's finally found his NBA home.
Yeah, I sent him multiple texts before the draft asking to see if he would do an interview with me, and he never got back to me. So that kind of made me a little bit like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to do this right now. You know what I mean? And who knows? He could have just forgotten to respond to me. So you never know in that sort of situation. But haven't heard a ton from him, even on social media after he got drafted. I mean, Ja obviously was excited about him coming, and he quote tweeted that and all that stuff. But, I do know that the Grizzlies do have a lot of depth in terms of big men. So that is going to be something that he's going to have to try to break through. I pray and pray and pray that he's able to stay healthy. Yeah. His family, his mom and dad are the best. I love them. They're hilarious. So I'm just really rooting for that family generally, where it's just I really hope it all works out, because they're good people. And we'll just have to see what happens with it all. But boy, do I just hope that Killian is. I just hope so much that maybe the pandemic was a bit of a blessing to him, and he was able to just let his body rest.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't get to do that much at GU. It was just, okay, you're over this injury, come back. You're over this injury, come back. And then it was, and so he never really got the time to really give to his body in the way that he should have. And so I just really hope that he can turn a corner there in terms of that.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that makes me so nervous is I think first-round picks are going to get a ton of grace if they have injury problems. You're going to get 3 or 4 years, even if you're hurt constantly. The Blazers just signed Harry Giles, who's been hurt for so much of his career, but because he was a first-round pick. And the second-round picks probably get a little bit of grace. But if you're an undrafted guy and you're on a 2-way deal, your first injury, that might be it. And that's what makes me so nervous. That's why I felt so anxious when I didn't see his name come up. I was hoping maybe one of the LA teams will take him here right at the end, or Golden State right at the end, or something like that, because I thought he would fit some of those teams. But I think that's the fear, is the injury history, and maybe teams didn't get enough of a look at him. I don't know, but hopefully if he can stay healthy and get into some games this year, I think his odds of actually sticking in the NBA go up a ton, because I think the skill set is absolutely there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He totally fits the NBA. There's no question about that.
6'10" dudes who shoot 40% from three in all 4 years in college. That's not something that you see every day. So excited for him. Hopefully he'll find a home and stick there. All right. So kind of transitioning back into the current college basketball team, sans Killian Tillie, sans almost all veteran players. They have Corey Kispert, their senior leader, and of course Joel Ayayi coming back. But this team is absolutely ridiculously loaded. I know you've gotten a chance, even in the midst of a pandemic, to see some of them and hopefully interact with coaches less, I imagine, than you've done in the past. But with the season a couple days away, hopefully, we have not heard any concerns about Gonzaga or Kansas at this point. Can you just talk about like players and what your overall level of interest and excitement, and how Gonzaga fans should feel about this team with the season about to start?
I mean, the hype is real.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how bummed I'm going to be if they win an NCAA championship there this year and I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm going to be so bummed. Obviously that's selfish, and obviously, that's something where, if it happens, that's still awesome if they're able to win one. Right. Yeah, I mean, right now the Kansas game seems set. It seems good to go. Bill Self had media availability today, said it was good to go. So I guess in Bill Self we trust, and we just keep on pushing. I feel like that Tennessee game is dead in the water right now. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know how it could in the span of 9 days. When you have multiple positive COVID cases on a team, it's problematic, and the spread has already happened. And, Baylor, I feel more confident in. I feel a lot more confident in that Baylor game still happening. So I at least hope they can get one of those 2 games for their schedule. But generally, this is a team that is deep. Like you said, doesn't have a ton of veteran leadership, but Corey is, I've watched Corey for 2 years now. He's a phenomenal leader. Even when he wasn't really the leader, he was still a good leader for GU. So I don't think they need a bunch of guys at the helm, because Corey can handle this by himself. He's got it. He's a fun guy to watch lead. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just kind of like, it makes you happy when you watch him lead, because you just know that he's doing it right.
Right.
So, I think that they're fine in terms of that leadership standpoint. Joel's a little bit quieter. And so I think that they're kind of good Robin and Batman in terms of that. Batman and Robin, sorry, switch that around. It's been a long day. But yeah, I mean, from all accounts I've heard, Dominic Harris has had a pretty good fall.
Yeah.
For that from multiple people within the program, that he's looked really solid. I think that people can expect for him to maybe contribute a little bit more than what maybe forget about him, because he's been committed to GU for so long.
Right.
Stroth is an injury right now. We're not sure what his situation is. And then obviously there's Jalen, who everybody has very, very high expectations for. And then you've got a whole group of sophomores. I think a lot of times people are forgetting about Anton Watson and just how incredible he was in high school. I watched him in high school. Like, we had two Anton Watson dunks in it. Like, that's how impressive the kid is.
Yeah.
So, if that shoulder's healthy, like, I think he could really shock some people. And obviously Temmie is one of the most talked about guys in the country right now. That's another phenomenal family I've gotten to know over the years, and they are just wonderful. And Drew's so funny to cover because he's such a character. He really is such a character. Like, the other day, when at Craziness in the Kennel, he did a dunk and he looked at everybody that was shooting. And he goes, anybody get that? Because I want it. Because I never jump like that. I need you to get that for me. Like, okay, all right, Drew. And like he has like these elaborate handshakes with all of his teammates. It doesn't matter if it's a walk-on or Corey Kispert. He has like this crazy elaborate handshake with each one of them. So, just a lot of really fun guys to cover, and sky's the limit. And I think now they're the undisputed #1 preseason team coming into the country with Baylor losing the player that they did.